Hello, guys. Welcome back to Get Your Shit Together. I am your host, Belen Salomon, and Fiona, my guest every week. And this is episode 12. I apologize that there was not an episode last week, but I was very overwhelmed the week before. I was going to LA and I just had so much to do for it and get ready for that and just everything else that goes with it. And I just could not find the time to film and record an episode. But we're here now and it's going to be a great episode. And a recap on my week and last week, actually. Last week I was in LA. I was there a total of 5 days. I did 2 days in LA, 2 days in Orange County. And well, really it was 5 with travel, but it was great. It was a very productive trip. I spent the first 2 days in LA, Malibu, and then I went to Orange County for Mother's Day to see my family and celebrate with my mom. And it was lovely and beautiful. And there was a crazy heat wave in Austin. So I was thrilled to be in Newport because it was like 75 and delicious. And it was really great spending time with my family and, of course, seeing friends. Then this week has been crazy. It's Friday and I say this every episode, but it's going by at a rapid speed. And I just feel like I can't get ahead sometimes. So hopefully next week is going to be a little bit more tamed and manageable for me. This week I had a launch on Belen. I had some new tops released and there's more coming for summer. So I was pretty busy with that, prepping, and I do everything obviously from Austin. So thank God my brand coordinator is a rock star and handles everything from LA. So yeah, now we're here and we're going to record a podcast. And I think once I'm done, I'm going to film a little matcha video. So look out for that. So for today's episode, it is going to be how to move cross country. Now, let me start this by saying in the 14 years I've been with Alejandro, we have moved 7 times. So I'm kind of a professional at moving. It's insane that we've moved so many times, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's all Alejandro's doing. None of it was mine. So even though I did every move by myself, which we'll get into in a second, but we've moved a lot. So I've learned a lot of tricks and tips and hard lessons from it. So hopefully my knowledge will be helpful for anyone who's moving, if you're moving literally like down the street or cross country, which this is specifically going to be about cross country, but it's all relative. We've moved so many freaking times. And the last 3, coincidentally, magically, Alejandro was out of town. 1 year he was at Sundance Film Festival and I was moving us out of our Hidden Hills home that was very large. And he was like, oh, I have to go sledding. Literally almost murdered him. But I got it done. So that was one crazy move. And there was another time that he was also, when we were getting ready to move out to Texas, he was on a work trip. So I literally was like, the next time we move, you're not going to be anywhere. But here's the thing. Even though it's enraging that he's gone, it's somehow, because I'm so type A and controlling and in these situations neurotic, it's almost better because sometimes he's putting around and I'm like, bro, you're either fucking helping or get out. So the times before the past 2 times that we moved, his job was to take care of the animals. So at the time we had Zoe and Bella, our other 2 dogs. And so he was in charge of dealing with the animals, transporting the animals, the turtles, the squirrel. But the past 2 moves, it was kind of just Fiona. So it was there wasn't enough responsibility there in a sense. But obviously when we moved to Texas, it was very overwhelming. And there was that layer of emotions for me. I was extremely devastated about the move and I've been very open about it. And I really struggled with the move. So there was just a lot of more layers to the move to Texas. So a little backstory on the move, if you're new here, we basically, November 2020, we came out to Austin. It was my first time ever coming to Austin. I had not been to Texas since I was born. So it had been 30 plus years since I'd been to Texas. Basically, it was my first time. And I'd never been to Austin, and we came for 48 hours, looked at 3 houses, put in an offer, and that was that. So I didn't know anything. And looking back, I wish I would have done a couple things differently. It was also a weird time. Like, we were in the thick of the pandemic. So we were in a rental in Hidden Hills in California, and we had to be out by end of January. And when we got our current house that we're living in, we were doing renovation. So we knew it was not going to be possible to move in right away after we got out of our rental. So Alejandro, we had a very big fight about this that went on for weeks, because he wanted to immediately come out to Austin. And I was like, there's no way. I'm so mentally not ready. There's so many things to do. The house is under crazy renovations. And I just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do to move immediately. And first of all, we couldn't even move into the house, and we were going to have to be in an Airbnb, which I was not into the idea of being in an Airbnb for 2 months. So we ended up staying with our wonderful friends in Hidden Hills in their guest house. So that meant for us packing everything and living out of a suitcase basically for 8 weeks, which was insanely challenging because, one, we'd never had to do this before. And two, it was packing for me, packing for him, packing for Fiona, obviously. And it was it was just a very strange thing to wrap our brains around, living out of a suitcase for 8 to 10 weeks. So I had to let go of a lot of control in the situation, which is incredibly difficult for me to do because there was no expiration date in a sense. And there was so much unknown because we didn't know when we were going to be moving in, when we were going to be moving out. And then that crazy storm happened in Austin. So that delayed everything, which was fine with me because I was not ready to move yet. So there was just a lot of obstacles with our move in particular. So I learned a lot in that process. And looking back, what I would do differently. And hopefully I can give some great advice and tips. So for us, there was so many layers. And, we wanted to ship the cars, but we needed 2 cars there. And it was just very complex. So I made a list to hopefully help anyone who's moving across country and doesn't have these type of obstacles that we had. So the first thing is purging. I'm very big on this. We talked about this in the episode of spring cleaning and your closet. But when you're moving is truly such a great opportunity to purge, and especially if you're moving cross country. So get rid of anything that you do not need for your new space, because chances are if you're moving cross country, you're going to be really moving into a totally new setting, and it's going to cost you more money to ship it than get new items. So if it's kind of evening out, my tip is to sell it to consignment stores. That's what I did. I found local consignment stores and sold a lot of our bigger furniture. Facebook is awesome for selling. There's apps like Let Go, have a garage sale, ask your neighbors, your friends, if they need a dresser or they need TVs, whatever it is, that's really going to be bulky and take a lot of space in the moving aspect. Sell it, get rid of it, buy new. This was a very difficult thing for me because so much of our furniture that we've had over the years, we've gotten more switched out pieces. Of course, Fiona's having a mental breakdown in the background. As I was saying, so it was a little challenging because we over the years, collect is not the right word, but we had gotten a lot of really kind of amazing pieces. And so it was really hard to part with certain things, but I also knew the vibe that I wanted to go with this house. So I was fuck it, let's just start from scratch for certain things. So that was super helpful, especially because I was really trying to minimize the moving aspect with the movers. I didn't want to have 2 huge trucks. It was insanely expensive. So I really tried to just have a certain amount of boxes to go in the truck so that it wasn't going to be outrageously expensive because there were so many other expenses that were coming up, which I obviously will get into that as well because moving is expensive as fuck. So I'll just get into that next. So the second thing that you should be doing is absolutely making a budget because moving is very, very expensive and you should budget for it. So, you know, you got to plan ahead. Moving with movers, obviously expensive. If you're renting a U-Haul, it's expensive. If you're going back and forth, obviously you have to buy flights, gas, you know, then you have like deliveries and furniture and maybe you're hiring a handyman to like hang up your curtains and do all these type of things. This shit adds up so fast. So make sure like before you even like really start like booking the movers and everything, budget it out, plan it out because it's like hidden fees. All this shit's gonna come up and things are gonna go wrong, by the way. Like it's just part of it. And like better to be prepared than like feel like you just got like totally thrown off and you don't know where these like added expenses are. So definitely budget and weigh out your options. So if you are either shipping your car or driving your car, like weigh the options. See if driving is going to be more cost effective or shipping your car. Maybe you have a pickup truck and you can pack a bunch of shit in your car. If you don't, then, you know, maybe the moving with movers is going to be more ideal for you. So just kind of like write it out, budget it out and plan it out because really weighing your options is going to be the best thing that you can do, especially when it comes to the car. Obviously for us, like we had multiple cars and I was not fucking driving with Fiona and our squirrel. So I said that from the beginning. I was like, we got to figure it out because it's going to be insane. So for us, that was the right choice. And obviously we were moving a lot of fucking furniture and like our clothing. So like packing up our cars either wasn't a realistic option for us. And, you know, always think to, and this is something I had to tell myself because I want everything done perfectly at all times. And I had to like tell myself it's little by little, like I'm not going to have all the furniture at first. I'm not going to be able to buy everything that I want day by day. And for me, every time we've moved, we've always had access to the next place we were moving into. So I've gradually and slowly been able to move this in, meaning if let's say there was like a week of a difference and I had access, I would get the curtains hung. I would install things. I would have like the bed delivered so that the day we moved in, it felt like we already lived there. With this, that obviously wasn't a fucking option because one, we were moving across country and two, we were doing renovation. So that part was very difficult for me, being controlling and wanting everything done and perfect. So this is another like tip I have and like number I have, which is number 9, I'm skipping, but is to be flexible. And listen, this is coming from somebody who's not fucking flexible at all. I'm trying, I really am. But just know like something will go wrong, something will break, something won't get delivered, and you have to just be flexible and go with the flow. And trust me, when I say this, I was not going with any fucking flow. Now looking back, there were so many things I could have done better and had a better attitude about, but just be flexible with any area of the move. And know that it's all going to sort itself out. My next tip, my next tip is ask a local for like the 411 on where you're moving and use your network. Meaning, if you know somebody who lives in where you're moving, reach out to them, even if you haven't talked to them in a long time, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, TikTok. There's so many things. Reach out to them. Talk to somebody who lives in that area. You know, for us, Rodrigo had lived in Austin, so we asked him a bunch of questions. And I, at the time, was being very difficult, and I was like not on board with the move. So I didn't really do my research, which I should have. But obviously we talked to Rodrigo and like we got as much as information as possible. But like we really were going into like, you know, a territory that we had no fucking clue about. Also, it was the pandemic. So like it was not normal time. So people were not out and about as much as maybe they are now. So if you know somebody in the area, reach out to them, ask them the pros and the cons of the areas that you're thinking of. Maybe there's untapped neighborhoods Ask, be vocal, go on social media, look it up on Instagram, on tags, on Yelp. Do your research because that will make a humongous difference. And definitely get to know the area, see like, okay, if you want to live downtown, what are the pros and the cons? Or if you're living outside of the city, how far are you from the city? So for us, we don't live in the city, but it's like a hop, skip, and a jump. So I knew like, okay, how far is the airport? Where's the closest grocery store, urgent care, bank, gas? Like these are the things that were very important to us. And I remember when we first saw our neighborhood, I told Alejandro, I'm like, I'm not living on like a ranch that's like 20 miles away from a grocery store. Like I'm not on board with that. And especially coming from Los Angeles and living in Hidden Hills definitely got us used to being outside of the city. It would take us like 10 minutes to get out of our community and get to the gas station or get to the grocery store. So we were already used to this, especially me, because I'm the one who's doing like all the household stuff. So I was very vocal about everything kind of needing to be within 10 minutes. And knowing like if there's an emergency, these things are close to us, or a CVS or a fire station. So get to know the area too. Don't go into it blindly, because if those things are important to you and you get there and you're like, holy shit, all this shit so far, what was I thinking? Just get to know the area. The next thing that you should be doing is, once you kind of had all this, the budgeting and the purging, book your movers. It's a very busy time right now. Everyone and their mother's moving, and everyone's moving to Austin. Sorry, anyone who's listening who lives in Austin. But a lot of people are moving. So movers are booking up. Same with U-Hauls. I know there was a crazy shortage for a long time. I don't know if that's still the case right now, but I know when we were moving, which was February 2021, it was very difficult to book a lot of those things. We had also looked into pods. I know pods are a really great option too if you want to put everything in storage. For us, it didn't make sense because we were kind of in limbo with when we were going to move in. But like, let's say you were moving across country, but you were going on a road trip, or you were going to stop in different states to visit people. You can ship everything in a pod, and it stays in a pod in a certain area where the pod is. So I believe it can stay up there like for several months. And it's kind of basically like, it is a storage unit, but it's a storage unit that like is on the go. So you can like move it around. But do your research and book that ahead, because it's a very busy time right now. People are moving everywhere. It's weird, scary times. So make sure you do that and plan ahead. And another thing that you should definitely be doing, like once you know where you're going to be moving and you have measurements, make sure you measure, by the way, because I definitely have fucked up there and I like measure with my hands, and spoiler alert, it's always wrong. So once you like know like measurements and the floor plan, order the big furniture. Because let me tell you something, the delays are real. We're still waiting for fucking furniture a year and some change later. So if you know you're getting a new couch or you're getting a new bed frame or a dresser, order it ahead, because it's not going to ship on time, especially if you're ordering from CB2. And like know like that is going to take up to 12 to 16 weeks. There are still things that I look at, like if I'm looking on CB2 or Crate and Barrel or whatever website, and it's like shipping ETA December 2022. And I'm like, what? How? So plan that ahead. I know Living Spaces has way better shipping options. So like there's a bunch of places obviously you can order furniture from, but for the most part, everyone's kind of backed up because of the state of the world at the moment, and with everything being stuck at the port and, all that's going on. So plan ahead the big stuff, because it will take a long time. And let's see the next tip. Don't forget the little things. And when I say little things, I mean like making sure your utilities are like, being canceled. if you live in an apartment complex, like dropping off the keys or like asking a friend to help you do this type of things, forward your mail. This was something that like was very strange because I'd never had to forward it to another state. And there was just like a lot of different like moving parts with that. So make sure you have somebody who's going to help you with that, or check your mail, or maybe get a PO box, because it will take a minute for it to transfer everything. And cancel membership if you have a gym membership or what any kind of memberships and you're moving out of state. Make sure you cancel them, and also like look into your like credit card statements and see what you have on auto pay, because like that's an easier way to cancel things, and like make sure that you've hit every single important ongoing auto pay. If you have a pet and you're moving out of state, and thank God I did this. I went and got Fiona like a full physical with my favorite vet ever, who's in Malibu, the most wonderful vet in the world, Dr. Dana, if you need a vet. She's at Malibu Vets. And I was like, oh, I just want to get her blood work. She's like, where are you moving? I'm like, Texas. And she was like, oh, she has to be on all sorts of like things. It's a different climate. So thank God I went, because she needed to be like on not only flea control, but like something for her heart. So if you're moving out of state, make sure that you have a conversation with your current vet and ask them what the rules are in another state. And also just like environmental hurdles that you could encounter. Had I not taken her, I wouldn't know that she would have had to be on heartworm medicine. So make sure that you get all your personal records, whether that's medical, pet, if you need school records, get all of that done before, because you're going to need them and then you're going to be flustered. And every state has different health insurance, and that's something also that we had to learn. So kind of do your research ahead of time, just so you're prepared. And my last tip is, once you're settled, once you've gotten to a little bit of a groove and you're in your new place, explore your neighborhood. Find out where there's coffee shops and hiking and farmers market, restaurants, like explore your area, because if you're moving by yourself, and need to meet people, that's the best way to meet people. Like sign up for classes, see what's going on in your local area or downtown. That's for me, that's something I continue to struggle with and heavily struggled with last year. Is I did not have a community out here, and I had a massive community in California. And that will be another episode, but it really mentally affected me last year. And I was in a very dark space, so I was even resistant to signing up to things to meet people. Now I'm in a much better headspace, and I'm like eager and excited to sign up for yoga classes, or now I go to farmers market every week, and it's a great way to kind of get to know your community and meet people like-minded. So make sure you do that. And if you're living in an apartment complex, there's always like, I know there's things to do, like maybe there's wine night, or there's music night, or there's a concert locally. Like do those things, because that's how you're going to meet people and really get to know your area and love your area. It's an exciting thing to move cross country, and especially if you're doing it to, start over or better quality of life. And there's so many things to do in new cities, especially in Austin. I mean, there's endless things to do. Have I done any of them, you ask? Not really. But it is definitely my goal this year to explore more and go on the lake and paddleboard and do all these things, especially in nature. So I hope this was helpful. Remember that one day at a time. It's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be fucking scary. But if you kind of go into it a little bit prepared, it's going to be much easier on you mentally, physically, and financially if you plan ahead. So let me know if you want to hear more on this. And I hope everyone has a great week. And thank you for listening. Thank you for following, reviewing. And you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts. I will chat with you guys next week. Bye.